right, guys. So as we get started, transparency is really important to us. We are going to teach you guys. We are going to educate you guys. We know you guys are smart. And with that, just know that we can't make any promises or guarantees. Success definitely doesn't happen overnight. If you agree, if you understand, put a yes in the chat for me. Perfect. So before we officially introduce our special guest speaker today, I just wanted to introduce you guys to the 5 key areas of a real estate investing business. If you want to take notes or write anything down, please definitely do. The first key area is marketing and data. The second is sales and acquisitions. And the third key area is going to be our focus today, which is TC and operations. If this is a problem in your business, then you're in the right place because we're going to help you solve this key area in your business. And today we're going to show you how to get back your time to be able to close more deals and scale your REI business. If you're tired of chasing title and people, this is how you're going to reclaim your time and protect your profits. So today's call is critical if you're wasting your time handling everything in the closing process. If you're not working with professionals to handle your closing so you can stay on the phones, this is one of the first areas that we discuss with coaching students of ours, where you are spending your time that is not driving revenue. As investors, we need to prioritize revenue generating activities and outsource everything else. You want to make more money, keep focused on revenue generating activities every day, and work with the best in the industry. In the other areas, just outsource. Let me get a commitment from all of you in the chat that from now moving forward, we're going to focus on our revenue generating activities only. Give me a yes if you want to do more deals. So you're going to focus on those RGAs. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Well, with that, I'm excited to introduce to you our good friend and trusted resource, David Olds from Easy REI Closings. David and his team handle thousands of transactions across the country in every state, and there may not be anyone that knows more about the TC process than Dave himself. So, Dave, it's all on you. I think you're muted still.
All right. Trying to figure out the technology there. Can you see it? Can we see everything? All right, awesome. Morgan, thank you so much for the very nice and generous introduction. I don't know that I know everything, but I have 25 people in my office who a lot of them are much smarter than me and do thousands of transactions every single year. So thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is David Olds. I'm the founder of Easy REI Closings, and let's jump right into this, right? Let's be real. Every single one of you got into real estate for the same reason, right? We want to make more money. We want to have more freedom and have less stress, right? So whether you're wholesaling or building rentals, right? That was your dream, right? But here's the problem, right? And I know this because I was an investor for a long time, a ridiculous amount of time. Most investors, right? We end up working harder than we ever did at our 9 to 5, right? Making less money than they should because they get stuck in the weeds of getting deals over the finish line. And that's exactly where we come in and why we were invited to present to you here today, because our mission, it's right there on the screen. Right? I want to help you work less, make more money starting today. So as we go through this, I want you to keep your own business in mind. Imagine how much easier things would run if all of the transactions and closing side of things were handled for you. If you could literally take that weight off of your plate and just focus on the deals, right? Just like Morgan just said, the revenue generating activities, because by the end of this, I'm going to show you a path of exactly how to make that happen. And it's so much simpler than you're thinking it's going to be. So I always like, and I get this from Tiffany and Josh, I love to tell you where we're going, right? Give you a little roadmap. First, we're going to talk about what really separates the investors who scale big, right? And maybe, scaling to 50 deals a month isn't what you want to do, right? But who build a repeatable business, right? So how we separate those people from the ones who, kind of stall out. And I'll tell you, it's probably not what you think. So I know you're very active in the chat here. I want you to drop in the chat what you think that is, right? I want to see what you think the difference is between those who make it and those who flame out, right? And we're going to come back and we will talk about those. And then we're going to break down what transaction coordinating actually is and why it's really that hidden lever in your business that nobody talks about except Josh and Tiff. And that's why we're all here today. And next, let's hit the problems that every investor faces, right? The things that you've probably run into yourself. And I'll show you just a proven solution that's going to help keep those deals moving forward so that you're making sure you're cashing those checks. And My gosh, if you've ever lost sleep because something fell apart at the closing table, drop a quick yep in the chat so that I know I'm not the only one. I don't want to feel bad, because after doing so many deals, it happened too many times until I figured out what I'm going to share with you today. And after that, we're going to look at the cost of ignoring this piece of your business, right? And I'll tell you right now, it's a lot bigger than just missing one closing date. And finally, I just want to walk you through exactly what it looks like to work with us, why Tiffany and Josh wanted us here today, and I want you to see how investors all across the country are doing more deals and making more money and really buying back their time. So as we go through this, just keep asking yourself, what would it mean if I could hand this part of the business off that really just eats up my time and still feel 100% confident that it's being handled the right way? So let's jump into that first piece. What separates the people who really grow in this business from the ones who just burn out? But before we do that, let me just tell you a little bit about me and who I am and why all this matters. So I've been doing this for over 20 years. I actually got started in real estate in 2002. So it's a ridiculous amount of time, but over that period, I've worn just about every hat. Like I've been a landlord and a rehabber, wholesaler, and I've personally closed well over 1,000 deals. And on top of that, the company that my partner Heather and I built, Easy REI Closings, we've now worked on more than 8,000 transaction files nationwide. I mean, think about that. 8,000 files across every single state and just about every type of deal that you can imagine, right? Wholesale novation, sub two, installment method, all of them, right? There's nothing that we haven't done. And I don't tell you that to impress you, right? I tell you that just so you understand exactly that we've been where you are today. And I know what it feels like to chase sellers and buyers and attorneys and title companies and just solve that mess that it just feels like the title company throws back on your lap, and just trying to hold it all together while still trying to grow your business. And honestly, I almost burned out trying to do it all myself. And that's why we built Easy REI Closings, to be the solution that I wish I had way back in the day when I was first getting started and just trying to juggle everything. It felt like I was juggling bowling balls. Um, I wanted the solution, right? This was a solution that I wanted back when I was back starting out, and maybe in the shoes that you're in now. So everything I'm going to share with you today comes straight from the lessons that I learned the hard way so that you don't have to. So again, as we move forward, think about this. What if you didn't have to fight through all of those things, right? If you didn't have to fight through all of those headaches to grow your business? What if the hardest part could already be solved for you, right? What if all you had to do was click a link and somebody else would do it, and you never had to worry about that again? So cool. So let's move on. Let's start here. Let's talk about what really separates the investors who grow their business and scale up big from the ones who, just kind of burn out after a couple of deals. And in my experience, again, after doing this for over 20 years, it comes down to four things. First thing is a willingness to learn continuously, right? You're already doing that. You're in the right place. Real estate changes all of the time, right? There are strategies shift, laws change, markets, what was a good market before isn't anymore. And the ones who keep learning and adapting, those are the people who win. And then taking action, right? Um, the ones who succeed are the people who show up every single day, and they're out doing the thing. As my partner says, Heather, she says all the time, if you do the thing, miraculously the thing works, right? So you've got to go out there and you've got to show up every single day. Adaptability, right? If you've been in real estate for longer than 5 minutes, you know that things never go perfectly, right? I was talking to somebody about my business last night, and she was an accountant, and she's like, oh my God, I could never do that. But we're all here for a reason, because we're built for that. We understand that deals don't go perfectly. Deals fall apart and sellers ghost, and title companies always find something unexpected. But the winners, they're the ones who can pivot without losing momentum. And here's really one of the biggest ones, is knowing when, and this is where I struggled, knowing when and how to outsource key parts of your business. That's the difference between building, a real business and just giving yourself another full-time job. And that is something that I struggled with probably for the first 5 years that I was a wholesaler. I thought I had to do everything myself. And that was what really kept me from having the business that I wanted and the life that I really, really deserved. So that's exactly what today's about, is really outsourcing transaction coordination and how it can unlock your business so that you can work less and close more deals and literally grow without the stress, probably the stress that a lot of you are feeling now. So again, let's be honest, you did not get into real estate to chase paperwork or babysit title companies. You got in this business to make more money, right? And to buy back your time. And outsourcing, it's how you get there. So Again, let me be real with you. When I first started out, I knew that, dealing with title stuff, it was just part of the process. Um, and I wasn't great at it, but I just kind of muddled through it because I thought that was what investors were supposed to do, right? That's what people back then told me. I thought the title company was handling everything, but in reality, like what was really happening is I was their unpaid assistant. Every time there was a missing document or a seller they couldn't reach or an error on the paperwork or some lien that popped up, instead of fixing it, they were kicking it back to me. And I'd scramble to take care of it, thinking, well, I've got an investor friendly title company, right? This is just how it works. But here's what I didn't realize back then, that's not how it has to be. This is exactly what a transaction coordinator does. And this is why I needed one so badly, right? A TC is the project manager for your deal. From the time the contract is signed until the day it's closed, they're the ones who make sure that all of the moving parts stay on track. The sellers, the buyers, the attorneys, the lenders, even the agents, so that you don't have to. Listen, I got the deal. I handed it off to my TC and I kept moving, right? I'm just out there getting contracts. Heather, she was the one that was in charge of all of our TC. She was the one that was making sure that they actually got closed. And once I finally made that shift, right? That's when I stopped drowning in the details, right? I bought back my time and I actually started scaling my business. In fact, my business literally skyrocketed. So again, here's the simplest way to think about it, right? Because a lot of people ask this all the time. A transaction coordinator, it's like a project manager for your deal. Um, but let me like make it even more real, right? As we're getting into football season, this weekend, first season of pro football, if you're a wholesaler, think of yourself as like the team owner, right? You're out there, you're building a business, you're scouting the deals, you're out there making the moves, but on the field, right? You need that quarterback, someone that's out there dodging the sacks, calling the plays, and moving the ball downfield so that the deal actually gets over the finish line and you get paid. That's your transaction coordinator, right? Hannah, our business development manager, she likes to say it's like having a general contractor on a rehab deal, right? You're not out there swinging the hammer or hanging drywall yourself or stretching carpet, right? You hire a general contractor to line up the subs and schedule the inspections and keep everything moving, making sure that the job's getting done right, right? That's not your job. Your job, right, is marketing and getting deals, talking to sellers, talking to buyers, doing those, as Morgan said, revenue generating activities. Well, that's exactly what a transaction coordinator does for you. They're the ones that make sure all the moving parts, title, attorneys, lenders, sellers, buyers, right, contracts, addendums, like all of that stays on track so that you don't have to worry about it. You just go out there and focus on getting your next deal. So listen, you know, this business is so much more complicated than I originally thought when I first got started. Every deal you do is basically in this like machine, right? On one side, you've got buyers and sellers and lenders and agents. And on the other side, you've got like title and attorneys and earnest money and reviewing HUDs. And kind of in the middle is, you with contracts and deadlines and communication back and forth between all the people, kind of that hub of that spoke and paperwork, right? And when all these gears are turning in sync, everything feels smooth, right? The deal closes. When it gets wired, you just move on to the next one. But how often does it ever go smooth, right? I can tell you after 1,600 of these, not that often. Because here's the reality. When even one of those gears slips, right? The whole machine, it just grinds to a halt, right? Your seller ghosts you or disappears. Title finds some lien or a contract is, wasn't signed correctly or it's missing a signature. And suddenly like that engine seizes up. And instead of doing new deals, right, instead of taking that seller call or talking to that buyer and locking up that next contract, you're stuck, right? You've got the iron bar in here trying to get those gears unstuck and trying to force this machine back into motion. This is why you need a transaction coordinator, right? A TC kind of just sits in the middle and makes sure all of the gears are turning, right? They're the ones that are making sure the gears stay aligned and the machine doesn't break and your deal, it makes it to the finish line. And the better they are, the easier they make that look. Because here's the truth. Listen, if you don't have a TC, you are the machine, right? You're the one chasing the paperwork, juggling the calls, babysitting title. And that's why so many investors get burned out. I know this happened to me. I realized I could only work about 14, 15 hours a day, and I did it for years and years and years. But once I was able to put a TC in the middle, right? In my case, it was Heather who came into my company and literally saved my company. Suddenly, the machine's just working. Checks are being deposited. Things are all happening because I'm out focused on building the business and talking to sellers and talking to buyers. So I got to focus on finding the deals, selling the deals, and building the business. And she was making sure that we got paid. So So I promised you we would get to, some of the real problems and issues that I personally went through on my way to over 1,600 deals. And here's really the brutal truth, right? The money isn't made when you sign the contract, it's made when you close. That's when it hits your bank account. And between those 2 points is like, man, it's a path full of hidden landmines, right? Whether it's bad contracts or documents, right? One missing form or one bad signature, and suddenly your deal, like you don't even have a legal deal, right? I've seen six-figure deals evaporate over a single unchecked box, right? Literally, it's too long of a story, but people get cutesy with some of these contracts, and the deal can literally fall apart because they've got these weird and wacky contracts. Poor communication. How many times has a seller gone dark on you or just ghosted, right? Or an agent stops answering the calls. Maybe you're trying to do a novation, or you've got something that you've got to have right now. And God darn, it takes 3 days for some title company to respond, and your deal, it just dies in silence, right? There's just nobody there helping you, or delays from just countless times this has happened, unexpected title issues. All right. I email or I call and they're like, yeah, 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 we'll check on it. Meanwhile, your buyer, maybe they get cold feet or your seller finds another option or, every day, right? Every day that's a delay, your deal's at risk. Or not having a well-trained team or trying to do it all yourself, right? If you're doing every single thing, or maybe you're relying on somebody who doesn't know how to navigate like liens or probate or last minute buyer changes, you're gambling with every single file. And this is something we have clients who come to us all the time. Oh my God, I thought I was going to get this TC for $5 an hour in the Philippines, and they absolutely just botched up my deal. Or I spent more time trying to teach them what to say than if I'd have just done it myself. It actually made things worse. And then last thing is, this was a big struggle for us when we started working in other markets, was finding title companies and attorneys that actually understand investors and the deals that we're trying to do, right? Because most of them are built for retail, refinance, and realtors. They move slow. They don't understand our kinds of deals, investor deals, or even creative deals. And here's the kicker. Instead of fixing these problems, what was happening to me is they were just kicking them back to me to figure out, right? Or, I thought they were going to handle something, but legitimately that file was just sitting on somebody's desk, working its way to the bottom because they were just waiting on me to come back and solve that issue, right? So the truth is, every one of these is enough to kill your deal on its own. And God forbid multiples start happening, right? So if you're the one that's stuck trying to juggle all of this, like you're not running a business, you're just running around putting out fires. And these are the fires, right? This is what you're up against in this business. I will tell you this, every single deal, when I did 1,647 deals, every single deal looks like it's going to be simple at first, right? I have some people who call me and like, okay, David, I'm just going to send you the complicated files. I'm like, oh, awesome. When was your last complicated file? Oh, and they tell me about it. I'm like, great. Did you know it was going to be complicated when you started? No. Oh, how much time did you waste? And, I hear this over and over again. It's always the same story. Hours, weeks, like it never ends. So every deal looks simple at first, right? You sign the contract, you're just going to get it to closing. But in reality, these are the things, right? Title gets, maybe they get the wrong version of a contract or addendums weren't signed or the seller ghosts you or EMD's missing or, maybe the buyer's lender backs out at the last minute because they didn't get the right information. Funds are delayed or title finds some surprise lien or there's missing errors all of a sudden that pop up. And what do we do with that? And the title company doesn't know, or, you can't get the buyer's LLC docs or somebody's in prison. Happens all the time. Parties in foreclosure. We got one the other day. We got it closed, but the wholesaler had no idea. Our client had no idea that this thing was going to foreclosure in 72 hours. But our team was able to jump on the phone, get that extended to make sure that this deal closed. And he made over $70,000, right? Bad legal descriptions, or property addresses. I don't know if anybody's ever done a piece of land where it's like 0 Elm Street because they haven't assigned an address yet. Memos filed that have to be returned or removed, rather. I was walking through our cubicles out there the other day, and one of our TCs was on the phone with somebody making sure that they could get the memo removed so that our client could get it closed. But emotional sellers where you haven't called them in 3 weeks and all of a sudden now they want to blow up the deal, and handling scheduling conflicts and remote closings, and things that are just the timelines just seem like they're collapsing on each other. And that's a Tuesday. That's the stuff that's happening in our office every single day. Because again, any one of these things can blow up your deal. And most of you in this room, right? You guys are all experienced. You've probably fought through at least 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of these things just this year, right? So the real question is, are you the one putting out all these fires, or do you have a qualified TC in place to make sure that none of these things derail your closing? Right. This is the reason why Josh and Tiffany have us come in here, and we work with so many students at Results Driven, because we take all of this off of your plate. So here's where it really hurts, right? When you don't have the right people in your corner, and every mistake, right, just turns into maybe lost trust with your seller, or lost revenue, or lost deals, because you can't scale because you're buried doing too much yourself, right? This happened to me. There was a limit. 3 to 4 deals a month was the most I could do, and I was really good. Right. But there's just only so many hours in the day if you're trying to do every single thing yourself. Right. Closings were getting delayed, which meant buyers are angry, sellers are pissed off, and it feels like you had momentum and you thought this was coming, these deals were going to close, and you had all this money coming in, and then boom, dead. Right. And that's missed opportunities, because while you're stuck chasing all that paperwork, somebody else is out there getting that next contract, that contract that should have been yours. That seller that went to your website or filled out that PPL lead that, you didn't call them quick enough, and you call them and they're like, "Oh, I just signed a contract with somebody else." Right? And if you're doing all of this, that's when mistakes creep in. And those mistakes don't just cost you money. Maybe they damage your reputation. You've got a team, or, you had to pay rent, or you've got, VAs, or, whoever it is, right? Or, you needed that money for your family, right? We all do this for a reason. And, that one deal that can go sideways, and that's when people start whispering that you don't know what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you just flat out lose your deals, right? So here's the bottom line. Every mistake is a potential just loss of revenue. And, none of us are out here doing this as a hobby. We're not doing this for charity. We need to make money. That's why we got into this business. That's the one thing that none of us can afford. So let me ask you this. Like, what if it didn't have to be that way? What if, instead of juggling a dozen sticks of dynamite, you had a system in place that could actually help you scale your business faster, so that you're freed up to focus on revenue and not paperwork, right? If we could reduce your costs without sacrificing quality, or actually increase quality, because you don't need to hire a full-time staff or make expensive mistakes, right? Josh and Tiff don't tell you to go spend the next 6 months learning how to run PPC campaigns, right? No, hire somebody, or just go buy PPL leads, right? Don't go out and buy a printing press and learn how to do, print your own direct mail. Of course not, right? Don't do your own bookkeeping. You don't want to do surgery on yourself. You should not be out there trying to learn transaction coordination. Yeah, can you muddle through it? Sure. But we're going to talk here in a minute about the fail rate on those contracts. It's shocking, right? What we want to do is we want to ensure smooth and error-free deals, because every contract, every deadline, every payoff, right? You want it to be tracked by professionals who do this every single day, right? Thousands of times a year, right? And we are those people. And finally, right, why do we get into this, right? We'll talk about this again at the end, but ultimately, we want to achieve real work-life balance in real estate, right? Imagine actually doing and enjoying the business that you got into, instead of drowning in the paperwork that 99 out of 100 of you do not like doing. I know, because I absolutely hate it. Well, that's why I built this in my own business. And that's exactly why we built Easy REI Closings, right? So how do we fix all that chaos? Little play on words, but it's an easy solution. It really is, right? We can offer you efficient transaction coordinating. We will take every single, TC task off your plate, from contracts to communications to deadlines to making sure the documents get to the right place. We handle all of it so that your closings are absolutely seamless, right? Scalability, right? We can grow as your business grows, whether you're doing one deal a month or 40, right? We can, grow and flex with you. And we've seen this over and over again, where our clients come in and they're able to grow their businesses, because now they're just focused on the revenue generating activities. And you don't need to hire a full-time, employee. I had to do that way back in the day, or carry that overhead, right? Not only that, right? But it's Indeed ads and resumes and interviews, and then hiring and training and managing, right? You don't have to do any of that, because with us, you get a professional certified transaction team at just a fraction of the cost. Literally, we are cheaper than you could hire the person who now flips, burgers at McDonald's. And what you're getting is an incredibly high level of expertise. This is all that we do, day in and day out. We understand where the landmines are. We know how the process works. We know how to get your deals to the finish line. We've done 8,000 deals, right? After 8,000, you have seen absolutely everything. Like I said, all that stuff on that screen, that's just a Tuesday for us, right? And we'll help you give you back that work-life balance that you got into this business. Because at the end of the day, all of this is really about buying back your time. That's why you start a business. Most investors who work with us get back as much as 30% of their week. Imagine what you could do with that time, right? You could go on vacation or you could go get more deals. That's up to you. But that's why we call it the easy solution. So here's the truth. Skipping a TC, it's not saving you money, it's costing you. I promise, again, it is costing you money because lost deals mean lost revenue, missed deadlines, lost trust with your seller. Every fire that you're putting out is literally stealing time from finding the next deal, right? And if you're buried in paperwork, guess what? Guess what? You're not out there writing new contracts, right? You aren't working on the deals that are already in your pipeline because without a system, there's no growth, there's no scale, there's no, leveling out your business so that it runs smoothly. You're stuck working in the business, right? You're down in the hole fixing the pipes instead of working on your business. And if you get lucky without a transaction coordinator, that's not a strategy. That's roulette. And I promise you, I went to the casino about a month ago. The house always wins. So let's put some numbers to it. I know Josh and Tiff, they're amazing at, tracking numbers. So let's just say, right, on average, an assignment fee for a deal, this is pretty low, but let's just call it 15,000, right? If you were awesome, and you only lost 4 deals a year, most of us lose 4 deals a quarter, but let's just say in a year, right? Let's be very, very generous. Not because you didn't have buyers, not because the property wasn't good, but because paperwork, right? Delays, title issues, right? If you lost 4 of them in a year, that's $60,000, right? So here's the thing, right? That's $60,000 straight out of your pocket, right? I mean, that's real money that slips through the cracks and the deal does not cross the finish line. So let me ask you, what would an extra $60,000 do for you this year? Would it let you grow your portfolio faster? Take on more projects, right? Add to your marketing, buy back more of your own time. Like this is where the numbers don't lie. Like these small mistakes create massive, massive losses. And that's looking at 4 deals, right? Some of you could be doing, 5 or 10 deals a month, right? Or even maybe 50 a year. The more volume you're doing, the bigger the leak is, right? Unless you have the right systems in place. But let's look at that. Like, let's just assume again, $15,000 average assignment deal, or average assignment per deal. Again, $60,000 or more per year. I'm thinking, at the most conservative, I was losing one of these a month. That's $180,000 a year, right? But let's say you take and invest that money into PPC or PPL leads. They're $100 a lead. That's 600 more leads that you could be putting into your business just by saving the deals that are already being lost, or 60,000 in your pocket. Go on a great vacation, right? However you do it, right? But when you figure out what your cost per lead is and then you divide it into that, it's astonishing. Here's the thing. Hopefully you're still with me. Pay attention. This is how, when you're online and you're looking at like, geez, how's this guy doing 40 deals a month, right? Because they figured out how to stop the deals from dying. They figured out how to take that extra revenue and put that into marketing. This is how smart CEOs, right, turn the lever and really dial up their businesses. So, but here's the good news. You absolutely do not have to do all of that stuff on your own, right? You don't have to be chasing down title companies, tracking deadlines, or stressing over that one missing document that literally could kill your deal. This is where our team comes in. This is what Josh and Tiff asked for. We provide done for you service so that you can focus on what actually grows your business, right? Again, finding deals, raising capital, building relationships, while we make sure that every single one of your deals is crossing the finish line. It's not just about transactions, right? That's not what we do. We give you peace of mind. We've, when you've got a professional team in your corner, you stop waking up at 2 a.m. going, oh my God, what happened with that deal? Is it closing, right? You can literally log into, we have a portal, a little CRM for all of our clients. It's very custom. And you can see, oh, here's every single thing that's going on with that deal. So you stop wondering if something slipped through the cracks. And instead, you've got the confidence that your deals are being handled, right? That your clients are happy, your sellers are being communicated with, your buyers, that's everything is getting gathered from them and over to the title company, and your time is freed up to scale. Because at the end of the day, right? Less stress. It's not just about fewer headaches. It means more growth, more deals, and more freedom. So the question becomes, what does it actually look like to work with us, right? We've talked about all the problems, we've talked about the solutions. Let me show you just a little bit behind the curtain. Some of you might be going, okay, all of that sounds great, but what does it look like? Okay, first, I promise you, we are the only company in the country that covers all 50 states and has done every type of deal in all 50 states. No matter where you're doing business, we have you, right? When we started this company, we started it for us, right? So when I look at everything we do, I always look at it from your point of view because I'm a wholesaler, just an old school wholesaler, right? So I want to make sure that we have you covered. Second, nothing that we do is outsourced to some overseas VA, right? Every single person in our team is in office about 30 feet that way on the other side of this wall, trained and certified, and they understand how to do deals the right way. And when I say certified, they didn't take some online class that somebody offered, right? Some great course that, it's going to be 6 hours and now they get to print off a certificate. Our coordinators, they actually train an apprentice for anywhere from 2 to 3 months before we will certify them so that we know that they are handling your deals correctly. And this is truly turnkey. 100% done for you. From the moment you hand us that contract, we take over all of the details and we keep everything moving because you never know which is going to be the deal that blows up. And you don't want that deal to have been the $70,000 one, right? We see people come to us all the time and they're like, can you help us put this back together? I'm like, I don't know. Let me see. But if we were involved from day one, 100% we could have. So on top of that, you get access, like I was just talking about our CRM, we call it our Deal Freedom Hub. It's a portal where you can track everything in real time without having to chase updates. You all obviously can always call and email and message and send a carrier pigeon to your coordinator. You'll probably want to send them flowers and cookies when they save your deal. But literally as they're typing on one side, you can see it on the other. So we have complete transparency that you can trust that we are getting these deals done for you. And absolutely world-class customer service. So if you've got a question, you are never, never in the dark as to what's going on because at the end of the day, right, our job is very simple. We're here to hold your hand through that entire process so that you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to go out and figure out what a monument of title is. You have the confidence of knowing that it's going to be handled and the freedom, right, to go out there and focus on building your business and implementing all the things that Josh and Tiff are teaching you. So here's where it gets really exciting because when you combine this level of support with your vision, right, the results can be absolutely game changer. So let me show you how this has played out for a couple of our clients. Because I don't want you to just take my word for it. And we've got we're just like Josh and Tiff. We have pages and pages of reviews from clients. But this is Corey Geary. He was working with Easy for about a year. He's one of our very first clients, and here's what he had to say. Right, he called us an absolute game changer in his business. Not because we just know how to handle complex deals like novations and creative finances, but because we connected him and his company with the right title companies across the country that knew how to structure those deals, and we took care of everything for him. In his words, we made his life pain-free. He was even able to eliminate 2 full-time positions in his company, which saved him $80,000 that he was able to put back into growth. Like, imagine just that. Like, that's not even talking about deals that were saved. What could you do with 80,000? For me, I would put it right back into marketing so I could do more deals. And what I love about this is he doesn't just use us. He recommends us to his students too, because he understands and he knows the confidence and clarity that we were able to create for them. So when I say this process changes the way you do business, it's not a theory. This is happening every single day for investors like Corey. And he's just one example. Imagine what it could look like in your business, like if you were not stuck in the weeds anymore. This one is honestly, this is amazing. And I don't know that anybody would ever duplicate it. But Alex had a very similar story. When he first came and connected with us, him and his partner were already doing a ton of deals, right? But they needed a way to take that heavy lifting off of his team's plate so that they could scale. So in March, when he came in, listen, he was already doing $97,000 a month. By any metric, that's really great, right? But by the end of May, right, just 2 months later, he scaled to over $750,000 in revenue in a single month. And it grew 814,000 was his highest month ever. Why? Like, I wasn't signing contracts for him. I wasn't selling his contracts, but his team. Now, instead of his team of acquisitions and dispositions people, instead of them having to figure out who the title company is and taking them out of the game, right? Taking them away from talking to buyers and sellers, we gave them all that time back and they were able to start getting more contracts and more deals and selling them, right? So here's the key. He credits a huge part of that growth to us, and that's awesome because we helped clear the roadblocks. We helped streamline his process and let him focus on growing the business instead of just drowning in transactions or pushing it on to his acquisitions and dispositions people because they should be on the phone just like you should. They should be out there making deals. So the difference is when you have the right team in your corner, you don't just survive, you actually scale. And we've seen this hundreds of times with all of our clients. So imagine what those numbers could look like in your company if every single deal in your pipeline just closed smoother and faster and you could just focus on doing deals. And then Sam's absolutely amazing. Sam's story is one that a lot of you will relate to because he wasn't necessarily looking to scale to seven figures overnight. He just wanted his deals to feel smoother, more manageable, and just affordable. So when he hired us, he said it made the whole process so much easier. So instead of drowning in paperwork and let me hear it in the comments if you ever have felt like that, right? And just paperwork and administrative tasks. He was able to go out there and focus on the deal itself. And we made sure that they all got over the finish line, right? Every closable deal actually closed and closed fast. So sometimes the biggest win isn't just the money saved or made. It's, my gosh, peace of mind knowing that you can sleep at night, that nothing is slipping through the cracks. And that's really the beauty of what we do, right? Again, yeah, we're in the transaction and title business, but we're in the peace of mind business. I want you to be able to focus on your deals. So whether you're trying to grow like massively like Alex, and you can definitely do that. We've got some mega wholesale companies that are clients, or just streamline your operations or eliminate, some headaches like Corey was. This system works, right? Because it's made to adapt to where you are. Because we built it, and we were very big nationwide wholesalers, so we understand where you're trying to go. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening behind the curtain when you work with easy REI closings. First off, again, you're not dealing with some random VA or somebody halfway across the world or somebody sitting on their sofa watching Breaking Bad during the day, right? Doing laundry in between your deals. You're working with a fully in-house team of certified transaction coordinators. That means consistency and accountability and professionalism, right? They're not going to jump on the phone with your seller and hear kids crying in the background or hear the TV up, or they're trying to talk to your seller and take clothes from the washer to the dryer. And I'm telling you, I've been on calls with other people and their transaction coordinators, and it's wild the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So every deal again is tracked through, a secure portal that is just for you. And you can see every single deal in real time. So you're never wondering, my God, where are we at? Or did that document get sent? You can see it. Not only that, you have real-time communication all the time with your TC. It's like they're sitting in the next office. And, we will give you an update every single week so that when you come into your office on Monday, boom, here's all of your deals, right? Hey, Morgan, you've got 6 deals in the pipeline here. 3 of them are closing this week. 2 of them are closing the week after. Hey, this one, here's a problem. We talked to you about it last week. We're just waiting. We need an answer on this, right? So you could see every single thing. And those timelines, like we have very strict KPIs for our coordinators, right? We're watching when your contracts expire. We're coordinating directly with the title company and the attorneys and reviewing your contracts and keeping everybody on the same page and moving forward, marching forward, right? So we talked about weekly updates. I don't ever want you to be in the dark, right? I built this company literally for me. How would I want it to operate at a very high level for my company? That's the expertise that you're getting. So you're never in the dark. You know exactly where your deals and your profits stand, right? And this is the stuff that you don't see this on the surface, but this is what makes your closing seamless and your company scalable, right? Think about it like this. While you're out chasing your next deal or your next opportunity, our team, we're in the back, right? We're behind the curtain in the engine room, making sure that every moving part of your current deal is working perfectly. And this is how you can scale without burning out. So, here's the best part. One thing that we wanted to talk about today is we have a new plan that we've just started rolling out. It's special for results-driven clients. We now have a plan that's called our pay at close plan. So there's no upfront cost. Literally, we will do your deal and guarantee that you do not pay unless it closes. It's the best possible deal out there that I can make. Tiffany really put the screws to me when we were in St. Louis about a month and a half ago, and she said, I need something special for my people. So instead of paying out of pocket, the fee for us is covered at closing. And usually you can pass that straight through to your end buyer, right? I know Tiffany talks about the admin fee. That's something that we brought years and years ago, and she's definitely been teaching that. I love it. But that means you get all of the benefits everything, all the benefits of a certified transactions team without ever reaching into your own pocket. And if the deal doesn't close, you don't pay. Guaranteed. That's simple. This removes every single excuse. You get expert support. Your deals stop falling apart. And you get to keep your focus on finding the next contract. Right. So in a minute, I'm going to show you a QR code you can scan, 100% free, sign up. We're going to provide you with a ton of resources as well. If you're doing one deal every couple of months, great. I know as you scale up, we have other plans that, can take advantage of your growth and make sure that we are there. So let's talk about why we're even doing real estate. Like, why is that important? Right? Listen, I get it. Everybody in here may not want a yacht or a private jet or a bunch of Rolexes, right? Maybe you do. And if you do, that's awesome. But maybe your dream's a lot simpler. Maybe it's picking up your son or daughter from school every afternoon. Maybe it's being able to volunteer at your church, right? Or, spend more time giving back in your community. Maybe it's just, my God, being able to shut your laptop at 5 o'clock and actually enjoy your dinner with your family without stressing about contracts and title companies and whether or not these deals are going to close. So whatever your dream looks like, big or small, right? The point is this. We all got into real estate because we wanted freedom. And what we do at Easy REI Closings is we make sure that that freedom actually shows up because we keep your deals moving. We free up your time and we help you create that just financial consistency to live life on your own terms because we are going to get these deals over the finish line. So again, whether your dream is a jet or just being at your kid's soccer game, the system's the same, right? And that's exactly what we are here to provide for you. So at the end of the day, it comes down to this. None of us got into real estate to push papers, chase contracts, or fight title company fires every single week. You got into this business because you wanted to do more deals and make more money and have more freedom in your life, right? But whatever freedom looks like for you, that's exactly what we do at Easy REI Closings. We take that stress off your plate so that you can focus on building your business, building that wealth, right? And most importantly, building the life that you want to live. Real estate is amazing. It gave me a life that I feel like I don't even deserve sometimes, right? So if you're ready to stop working in your business and finally start working on your business, this is where it starts. Here's the next step. If what I've shared with you today at all even resonates a little bit, do not wait. Take out your phone, scan this QR code right now. It's going to take you to our quick start page where you can get set up with Easy REI Closings. There is zero cost. You can get set up. This will create your portal. You can start uploading contracts literally today. And that way you do not have to worry whether or not your next deal is going to fall apart. You don't have to go, oh my God, start jumping into Facebook groups going, I need a title company in New Hampshire that can close a novation. Like, all that's done. You literally have a coordinator that can do all of that for you. Because I don't want you to be wondering if your next deal is going to fall apart or get stuck chasing paperwork. Because now you know that you've got a certified transactions team behind you and your business, making sure that every possible deal that can close gets to the finish line. So take a second, pull out your phone, go ahead and scan that, and let's get you moving towards more deals, right? And more money and more freedom. Like, it's literally as easy as scanning that code. I, you know, that's, we've made it as simple as absolutely possible for you. So, yeah. So Morgan, that's what I have got. I feel like there's a chat box here somewhere. There we go.
All right, well, does anybody have any questions for David?
Yeah.
If you raise your hand, we can bring you guys on live and as well, or you can ask in the chat.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do. Yeah. Maybe. Don't be shy. I would much rather sit and chat and answer any questions that you've got. If you have contract questions or title questions, maybe things that you're having problems with now in your business, happy to be here as a resource and help you guys out. We're also pretty active in the school group and, want to make sure that we are here. Even if you don't want to work with us, you like, I want to do all of this myself. I just don't trust anybody. I'm going to be that person. Cool. Tell me how I can help you and maybe give you some advice and help you grow your company.
All right, guys, since I don't see any questions coming through, thank you so much, David, for your time. And guys, don't forget to connect with Easy REI Closings.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Oh, there's a question here. So when we get a contract from the seller, we send it to you and then we find the end buyer. Yes. Yep. It's just as simple as that. We will make sure that, we'll get that assigned to the right title company. So you'll know what title company to put on your paperwork. And once we get that contract with the end buyer, yep, we will go to work and make sure that all of that gets done. And, anything that needs to be collected from the seller, like death certificates and obituaries and all, we will do all of that. So literally you go out, you get your contract signed, you drag and drop it over to us, and then we will take over from there. And then once you have your buyer, again, like drag and drop it over to us, we will call your buyer. So Cinna's it's very simple, right? We get that first contract, and Claudia, she's going to call up, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm working with Cinna on your deal over here at 123 Main Street. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to be your point of contact from here all the way to closing. So you're out, you're done. Go sell your deal, go get your next deal, whatever it is, right? Hey, Mrs. Smith, I need to ask you some questions because we've got about a 4 or 5 page intake form that we are going to, after 8,000 of these, we know all of the questions, right? All of the things that need to be asked. So, hey, Mrs. Smith, I got some questions for you from the title company so I can get you paid just as quick as possible, because that's what they want, right? Like, let's be honest, all of these people just want to get the deal closed. So great. So we're going to go through that questionnaire, and we're going to ask things like, hey, who else is on title? Where did you get the property? Did you inherit it? Is it in foreclosure, right? And all 4 pages of these questions, like an intake form that we're going to do. And anytime there's like a yes, oh, you are in foreclosure, poof, whole new checklist, right? So this is how you don't get stuck at the very end of somebody doing a title search 3 days before closing. And then, and if you've ever experienced this, put it in the chat, where it's like, oh my God, nobody's checked any of these things. And now my closing is going to be delayed and I'm not going to be able to get it done. And my buyer's mad, and everybody's mad, right? So great. So while you're getting your next deal or selling this deal, we're working in the background, collecting all of these things. Right. And then, now you get your buyer contract. Like, we're ready. We're ready to probably get this thing closed. Now you've got your buyer. Cool. Claudia's going to call up, hey, Joe, Mr. Homebuyer, we're working with Cinna on this deal over here at 123 Main Street. Hey, looking at the contract here, looks like you're closing this in your LLC. Fantastic. I need to get your LLC docs. Who's your authorized signer? Oh, and you're using Turnus Lending for your transactional funding. Awesome. Great. I need your contact over there, and we will call, and, we'll get the terms and, whatever it is that we're going to need for the title company. So, or if it's just a cash deal, great. Hey, Joe, how are you closing this cash? Awesome. I will make sure that I get you the wiring instructions and everything from the title company, and also the prelim HUD, so that you can approve it. Right. So we'll do a preliminary approval on those HUDs, but they always go to you for final approval because it's your deal. But yeah, 100%, you just focus on getting contracts. We will work in the background and make sure that they're getting closed and that you are getting paid, which is why we all got into this business. And I'm telling you, 1,000,000%, this changed my life once I added this in. You're so welcome. A great question. Anybody else have any questions? That was a great one. Anybody? Dino, what you got, buddy? Take yourself off of mute.
Thank you. I'm driving, so couldn't type.
Oh, no problem. Both hands on the wheel.
Appreciate the conversation. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the quote unquote admin fee, or rather the cost to us to use your service? I know it's paid. And also, I know I've heard Tiffany mention it, but if you can reiterate again how we go about passing on as an admin fee to our
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very simple. In fact, we're the ones that taught Josh and Tiff how to do it. So let me give you the background. I went to this mastermind, God, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago. And somebody was talking about, I just added this admin fee of like $5.95 into my contract. And, it just helps me offset my marketing. And I'm like, I wonder if I could do that to help cover my TC. And once we started this business, it was working so well in our company. Like, we're the ones that brought this out to everybody. And now, of course, everybody teaches it. But yeah, it's just a very simple clause in your assignment contract or your selling contract that says, the buyer will pay an administrative fee depending upon your plan with us, right? I have plans where we do contracts as, for some of our bigger clients where it works out to like $3.99. If you do just the one-off, like the Easy Pack plan where you pay at closing, it's like $14.97. So the price that we charge varies depending on your volume, right? But yeah, you put whatever you want that number to be. So let's say you're on our subscription model, which we have a ton of the clients here, your friends that are on this model, where it's like $2,000 a month. We do 5 deals per month. Well, that works out to less than $400 a deal, but you can still put a $997 or $1,500 or $2,000 administrative fee on your contract. And If it's costing you 400, but you've got $1,000 admin fee, where do you think that 600 bucks goes? In your pocket. That's how you turn this into an actual profit center. So you can, choose your own adventure and put that number at whatever you like. I'm here to tell you, Open Door is like $5,000. Keller Williams is charging $24.97 right now as an admin fee. $14.97 is middle of the road, right? Absolutely. So yeah, 100% you can have that fee completely offset. If you don't want to put it in there, the money would just come out of your assignment fee. Either way. Does that make sense?
It does. Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
but very, very easy to do. Man, I've got some clients who got bigger, more backbone than me. They put it in their contract with Mrs. Smith and they put it in with their buyer, so they're kind of double dipping. It says, hey, I'm with the seller, this is an all cash offer, but there is an administrative fee of, $14.97, and then they put it in with their buyer. So they're recouping $3,000 and using that to help pay for their marketing. So lots of different ways to skin the cat, but man, everybody pays admin fees. I'm checking into a hotel tomorrow in Nashville, and there's like a parking fee and a pool fee and like the special pillow fee. Like it's just very accepted now. Nobody blinks an eye at it. But great question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Any other questions? Anything else I can help you with?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Cool. Anybody else? Any questions? I love questions. I'd love to answer them. No? Well, like I said, I know there's a bunch of people on the call here. Definitely take out your phone, scan that, book a call, or this isn't even book a call. This is completely self-service. When you get to the second page, if you're doing more than, 1 or 2 deals a month, there's a spot where you can book a call with me and my team, and let's jump on and we can talk about, hey, I'm doing more than 1 or 2 deals a month. Would it make sense for me to be on one of these other plans, and how exactly does that work? And if you're shy and don't want to ask your question here, we can really dig into your business and, how this would work, and how, if you have specific questions, hey, I'm doing installment method in this state, or, whatever it is, how would that work? Or can you close wholesale deals still in South Carolina, or whatever it is, we're happy to have those conversations and really kind of get into depth on you and, what your business looks like. And ultimately, again, how we can free you up so that, we're 2/3 of the way through the year. How can we help you hit your numbers for 2025 and key you up for 2026? So definitely love to chat with you.
Thank you so much, David.
You bet. No, thank you so much for having me in. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you have any questions, certainly you can ask there, ask in the school group. We're happy to answer them.